Happy 2018. Unfortunately, I'm starting the new year off with a bit of a cold, so if I sound a little stuffy or if my nose is a little red, that's what's going on. But I'm really happy to be home. We had a fantastic trip, and I have some really good December favorites to share with you. I tried some new products over the past month, and I have some good things. I also have some non-beauty favorites that I'm going to include at the end. During the last Sephora sale, which I think was in November, I went into store knowing I was going to buy one thing, but I did browse around and I made an impulse purchase. It's this set from Stila called Eye for Elegance. So you get 6 cream eyeshadows. These 3 on this end are their glitter and glow formula, which if you want to use glitter, I think this is one of the best formulas. It's very easy and foolproof, and you don't have to worry as much about getting a bunch of glitter fallout on your cheeks. I just don't reach for glitter all that often. I don't really have the occasion to, but these 3 are a brand new formula called, I think it was Shimmer and Glow, and I believe you could only get them in this set first, and then now they've released, you can buy the full sizes, but they are absolutely beautiful, so easy to use. And I think out of the colors that I've seen come out, there's one called Cloud, which looks absolutely beautiful, and online it looks like it might have a little bit of like a lavender gray hue to it, so I'd like to see that one in person. And there's also a green that I'm very interested in. But out of this set, if it's still available, I love all 3 shades. I probably have used Kitten the most. I have Kitten on all over my lid today. Really so easy. I either use my finger or will take a synthetic brush to blend it out. Then the item I actually went in to purchase is the Tartelette Toasted palette, and I love all the Tartelette palettes. In Bloom is my favorite, and so when I saw that they were coming out with a warm one, I got excited. I really like it. It's not a perfect palette to me. There's a couple shadows. Crackle is the dark brown that has a lot of glitter to it, and none of the glitter translates on my lid. I see it in the pan, but when I put it on my lid, I don't see it at all. So it looks very similar to Fireside. So that one's a little bit of a waste to me. And then Candle, which is the light champagne color. This one, it's not bad, but it also has a little bit of glitter chunkiness to it. And again, it won't stick to my lid. It ends up falling on my cheek. But I love the metallic rose, Sunset, Flame, and Shimmer. I just wish Candle would have been that same exact formula. But the mattes are awesome. They blend out so pretty. And again, those metallic shades, I love them so much, especially Flame. That's like the deep red one. And I like it on myself with brown eyes, but I used it on my friend with blue eyes, and her eyes are beautiful to start out with, but when I put that red color next to the blue, it just looked absolutely incredible. So if you're wondering my opinion on this palette, I really like it. I've been using it a ton. This was definitely my most reached for palette. I'm actually not wearing it today, but I was wearing it in my last video. And then I have a product update I'm really excited about. In my collab with Terry Miyahira, I mentioned I had been using the Plume Brow Pomade, which is a pomade that adds color and fullness, but it also has some nourishing ingredients. So it just makes it kind of stand apart from other products in that category. The only thing is that I got the lightest shade, which was meant for people with blonde hair, and it was much more on the neutral, cool side of the spectrum. And if you're a redhead, I just needed a little bit of warmth. So when I was using that, I was applying the brow pomade, and then I found I needed to top it off with a warm shadow to help it match my own hair color. The company emailed me, and they're actually working on an auburn shade, and I got to be one of the testers, which I thought was really cool and actually a lot of fun. So I think I ended up testing 4 different shades, and when I picked the one I liked the best, I was happy to find out that a lot of the other testers also picked that shade. So it's what I have on right now. It's so easy to apply, and I really like the brush that comes with it, and I think it's perfect. It is warm enough so I think it matches my hair, but it's not so warm that I don't look like I have a big Cheeto brow, which is something I'm always worried about. So if you are a redheaded viewer and you are interested in this, as soon as it becomes available to purchase, I'll let you know. I've not been sleeping that well lately, and the first thing to give me away is my under eye area. It gets very dark very quickly, and I completely used up my Urban Decay Peach Corrector. So I was trying to decide if I should repurchase that or try something new, and I swatched a bunch of things in store, and I ended up buying the Tarte CC Undereye Corrector in the light to medium shade. Really like this. I do think it's much more emollient than other correctors I've tried in the past, so I noticed more creasing with my concealer. So I'm still trying to decide which concealer I like on top of this the best, but as for the color and how well it cancels out any blue or purple undertones, I think this is really good. So if you too suffer from dark under eye circles like I do, this is one I would recommend checking out. In my last video, which is what is in my carry-on, I mentioned finding a new YouTube channel. Her name is Renee and her channel name is Gothamista, and I found her through Nucia, who had sent me a lot of products from the brand Pyunkang. So I've watched so many of Renee's videos. She's just a wealth of knowledge. She's incredibly calm and she just presents her information in a beautiful way, and it doesn't hurt that her skin is beautiful, so you think maybe if I follow all of her advice, my skin will look like that too. And one product I thought was so interesting is called a Moisture Ampoule, and I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't think you pronounce the E at the end. This again is from that Pyunkang brand, so I ended up ordering this from Nucia, and it's really her channel that's my favorite because I haven't used this long enough, but it's just being introduced to new ideas and new products I think is fantastic. So this is something that you actually put on at the very end of your skincare routine, and I've used it a handful of times only in the evening. So after I've applied everything and given it a chance to sink in, this is a weird texture. It's very gloopy, almost like honey or glue, and you dot it onto your skin, just my forehead, cheeks, and chin, and then rub your hands together to kind of warm them up, and then press the product. And it's almost like a seal that seals in all of that product throughout the evening. And then when I wake up the next morning, the few times I've used it, my skin has just looked very plump, I guess is like the best way I could describe it. So again, it's really her channel that's the favorite, but I will keep testing this out to let you know if it's something I would repurchase. But so far I think it's really cool, and it's fun to learn about something you haven't heard of before. To finish up beauty, I have two hair care things. When I was living with my grandma, one afternoon I went to CVS with my cousin. We were shopping around and she picked up this pack of hair ties. I was like, do those actually work? Because I've seen a similar thing at Sephora. I think the brand is Invisibobble. So it's these hair ties that look like little coils. She said they were amazing, and she gave me a few of them to try, and I don't think I would ever go back to a normal ponytail holder. I love these so much. They don't slip out of my hair as easy, so they stay in place. They don't cause kinks. I don't feel like I get that tightness. You know, sometimes if you pull your hair into too tight of a ponytail, it can give you a headache. Don't have that issue with these, but I think my favorite thing is that my ponytail looks fuller when I use these, which is nice. For somebody without a ton of hair, I really appreciate that. So I'll have to text her to see what the actual brand is, but I'm sure you can just find them at any drugstore. And then the Invisibobble is the brand that they sell at Sephora. My other hair favorite was something I hated when I first bought it. It was a recommendation from my friend Diana from Our City Lights, and it's the Aveda Pure Abundance Hair Potion. Thickens hair up to 17%. And at first I was using it, I was shaking it up really well, and I was just tapping it into my roots, and it felt so heavy and sticky. Ugh. Then I ended up actually reading the directions, and you're not supposed to do either of those two things. You are not supposed to shake it, and you're supposed to almost just poof it up into the hair by squeezing the bottle, if that makes sense. And when you do that, oh my word, if you have thin hair, which I guess you could take this as a recommendation from both sides of the spectrum. I have very thin hair. Diana has tons of very thick hair and she loves it. So it's so good for giving me some volume, and then I don't have to hairspray my hair so much, and I find that the volume lasts throughout the day. So this is fantastic. I use it after I've curled my hair but before I've run my hands through it. So I will poof a little bit into my roots and also into the body of my hair, and then when I go to rake my fingers through, I just make sure to work the powder through really well. Absolutely love it. I've actually had this since this summer, and I still have product left in here that I can hear shaking around. So I can't remember how much it was, but I have to say that I think it's a good value because it's lasted me for so long. Moving into lifestyle random favorites, first up are PopSockets. I love these. When I first wanted to get one at the beginning of the year, I had to order it online, but they've since started selling them at Target, so it makes them really convenient. I tried a couple different placements on my phone, but I've found that I like to apply it right in the center. It's just a little sticker that you stick on and then it pops right out. And I like it in the center because I like to use it as a stand. I watch a lot of YouTube when I'm getting ready in the morning, so to set this on my vanity just makes it really convenient. And then of course it makes it easy to hold your phone if you have a tendency to drop it, or make it easier to take pictures or selfies. And then the other thing I really like is the matching car mount, which I think is only $10, and it's one of those removable adhesive backs. And you apply it in your car wherever you want to hold your phone, and then the pop socket slips right in. So just kind of a random thing, but it has been a favorite this year. When I was deciding what to pack for our trip, the thing I worried about probably the most was footwear, and I wanted to be very comfortable, so I was thinking sneakers, but then I checked the weather and it was going to be on the colder side and very wet. So I didn't want to go with a full snow boot. I read so many blog posts, watched so many videos, looked on Pinterest so much, trying to find out what people recommended for sightseeing in Europe in the winter. And after reading 1 million reviews, I bought my first pair of UGG boots. Never had a pair of UGGs before, and I I honestly didn't know much about the brand other than just the boots that you think of when you think of the word UGG. So I didn't know that they had water resistant and waterproof boots. So I ended up buying this style, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll look it up and link it down below. It looks like a combat boot. It has all the lacing and then a buckle, but it also has a zipper. So you never really have to worry about messing with the laces or the buckle. These were so comfortable. I wore them for like a week, the week before we left, to really break them in, and I wore them every single day we were there, and pretty much every single day it rained, so my feet were always dry, always really comfortable and warm. These were a little bit more than I was hoping to spend, but I have to say, I think like if your feet are happy, everything else kind of falls in place, and I'm really happy. I think they were definitely worth the investment, and I can see myself getting a ton of wear on them. I wore them with tights and with dresses. They went with everything, and just this past weekend we had just a small amount of snow, but it was just a little bit icy outside, so these are so great to give you a little bit of stability, and I would wear these to work too and on the weekend. I also wanted to mention really quickly my Madewell jeans. I get a lot of direct messages asking me for the exact style. So these are the 9-inch high riser skinny skinnies. And what makes these so wonderful is that they're 40-some% tencel. So they're incredibly soft, they're stretchy, but they don't lose their shape, and the color is beautiful. I will say though, even though I've had these for over a year at this point, I wore them the other night with a cream sweater and it did transfer a little bit, so the dye. So that's just something to keep in mind, but they're a beautiful pair of jeans. I would maybe like another pair of Madewell jeans, just to have a pair where I could get tailored so that I could wear them with ankle boots without having to roll up the bottom. So if you have a favorite pair, leave it in a comment down below because I'd like to read it. For entertainment, I have a book I read a couple months ago, but I've thought about it a lot since I finished it. And I think if you're looking for a book to give you a bit of motivation at the beginning of the year, this is one I would recommend. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's called The 5-Second Rule: Transform Your Life, Work, and Confidence with Everyday Courage by Mel Robbins. And it's the idea that when you have the thought to take an action that would move you closer to accomplishing a goal, your brain only needs about 5 seconds to come up with an excuse, whether it's I'm too tired, I don't feel like it, I have other things I should be working on, whatever it is. So Mel goes through her 5-second rule that helps you take immediate action. So I do think it was good, and I have thought about it a lot, and I've implemented her rule, so that's one I would recommend. And then I get asked about podcasts a lot. And I listened to a few this past year, and 2 that stand out. Both were recommended by my friend Ashley. The first is called Up and Vanished, and it's a true crime story about the disappearance of a teacher in Ocilla. And if you are interested in this at all, my only recommendation would be not to Google it, because during the taping of the podcast, arrests were made, which I thought made the podcast even more interesting. This is one that I just binged listened to, whether I was cleaning, cooking, driving, I was listening to this podcast. So that one is very interesting if you like true crime. Just don't Google it, just download the podcast and start in the first episode. And then the other one, and I want to say I enjoyed it, but that's not the right word because it's a very sad podcast. It's called Terrible, Thanks for Asking, and it's hosted by a woman. I'm guessing she's in her 30s, like maybe early to mid 30s. She's had a lot of loss in her life, and it starts off with her talking about the death of her husband, and then I think not even 6 weeks later, her father passed away. So she talks about loss and dealing with it, and then she interviews people, and both the language and the content is very adult, so there's trigger warnings at the beginning of most episodes. And I have to be in the right mindset to listen to it because most of the time I end up crying listening to the episodes. But I think they're very good and they're very powerful and make you think about your life. So those are the 2 podcasts that stood out to me. And then my last thing to end it on a much more lighthearted note is my favorite video game. And that's The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This was so much fun. I did not grow up playing Zelda at all. So this is the first Zelda game I've really played and committed to. And we bought the Switch back in the fall, and this is my favorite game so far. I've had a blast. Jared's already finished it and he's working on the hard mode. I've done the first 2 beasts and I've been really, really enjoying it. And then we also bought Mario Odyssey last night and been playing it some this morning. So that is it for my December favorites and a couple favorites from the entire year. I hope you enjoyed and found something interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching. I wish you everything, the best of everything this year has to offer, and I'll talk to you again very soon.